So as we mentioned, when it comes to either admission of the candidate into order, the confessor or the spiritual director doesn't partake in the decision making. And it also holds good. The seminary is a house of formation. It's a house of discernment, whether the candidate has a vocation or not. And in that process of discernment, a young man may be in the seminary and discovers that, in principle, that is not actually his vocation. A young man of that nature should walk up to the rector and tell the rector, this is not my vocation. I don't feel I'm being called to serve God as a priest, though I'm in the seminary. And in that case, the rector will try to advise him and see whether it is possible, it is true that there is no vocation. If there is a vocation, the rector will encourage him, maybe hold on again for 1 year, let's see how it goes. But if at the end of the day it's not the vocation of the young person, the person can decide to leave. At the same time, in the seminary, you may also be living a lifestyle that is not worthy of the vocation that you are called to live. And when you are living that type of lifestyle, and your formators, they realize that, and even some of the students realize that, and it's brought up, you are also advised to leave in order to try to see whether your vocation is somewhere else. When a seminarian is dismissed from one diocese, and that seminarian thinks that he has a call again to continue formation, and he goes to another diocese in order to seek the permission of the bishop of another diocese to accept him into that diocese, the bishop must write back to the other bishop or the superior of the congregation from where the seminarian is coming from to find out what was the actual reason why the seminarian was asked to discontinue formation. And if he finds out and the two superiors look at it and they thought that, well, even though he left this seminary, maybe we can still give him a chance, and that other bishop or superior writes a letter of recommendation, that seminarian can be taken in another diocese, and he tries out there whether it's going to work. But for the ecclesiastical province of Bamenda, if you leave any seminary, you leave any diocese, you cannot be taken in the ecclesiastical province of Bamenda. Cannot be taken, because if there was enough reason why the other bishop thought you should not continue, that reason cannot change overnight for you to be admitted. But the church gives room for that. That can be sent away from one seminary for a reason, and another bishop may decide to take you, but must consult the other bishop or the superior of the congregation. But we try as much as possible to say that once you have been sent away from any diocese already, it means that the bishop had a reason to send you away. And it's the same Catholic Church, we do not see it appropriate to have you here. Like any other seminary, of course, there is what we call the Charter of Priestly Formation, like guidelines, there are statutes, there are rules. There are rules in the seminary that if you get to the seminary, you have to follow those rules. If you go to the seminary, one of the things you have to do is make sure you live according to the rules that have been laid down. Get up at this time, do this at this time, do this at this time. If you follow the rules and also follow the statutes of the seminary, you are going to make sure that you don't allow yourself to be distracted, and that is going to help you as far as your formation is concerned. But if there are rules and regulations, and you decide to bring in your own rules and regulations, at times it may be very difficult for you to round up with your formation. Then, during the time of seminary formation, of course, the rector of the seminary in the seminary acts like the parish priest of the seminary, which means that the seminary is found within an ecclesiastical circumscription, within a parish. So the parish, like the seminary in Bambwe, the parish priest in St. Peter and Paul Parish, Bambwe, cannot decide to involve the seminary fathers, send parish programs to them and all the rest. No. If he needs them for anything, he dialogues with the rector and they come to an agreement. We are just saying that the seminary, in a sense, is autonomous from the parish. And the parish priest doesn't have any access to do things in the seminary, since the rector is the one who is responsible for the day-to-day running of the seminary. And in the seminary, of course, the church says that the students who are studying doctrine, the theology, they must be able to blend doctrine with their spiritual lives. And that's why we have different topics that we do in the seminary. When you go in the philosophical section, there are different philosophical topics that you treat, that are just as they do in other universities, and even more than. And of course, when you go to the theology section in Bambwe, of course, you are also opened up to lots of theological disciplines, canon law, the scriptures, catechesis, pastoral theology, missiology, church history. You can name the rest and name the rest. And those who are in the seminary must always have in mind to maintain a certain communion with the Holy Father, with the bishops, with the priest, and of course in the seminary to build up friendship, and I mean good friendship in the seminary that will help and support them, especially when they leave the seminary. If you're in the seminary and you relate well with your brothers, seminarians, not only those from your own diocese, but those from the other dioceses, that same spirit of living with others in unity is going to influence you when you come out of the seminary. And of course, the Eucharist is a central aspect as far as the life of the seminarians are concerned. That is why in the seminary they have Mass every day. Of course, the liturgy of the hours. They're supposed to pray the liturgy of the hours for the church. The morning prayers, the afternoon prayers, the evening prayers, the night prayers, and all the rest. But in the midst of all of these too, they must be able to have time that they will have their own private prayers. In the seminary, there's opportunity for the seminarians to belong to their own small Christian communities. In the seminary, the seminarians choose their own prayer and action groups. Some are members of, not CWA, some are members of CMA, some are members of St. Jude, some are members of Bonamos and all the rest. Since there are no women there, there's no CWA. Then in the seminary, it is encouraged. The seminarians are encouraged to make sure that every week they go to confession in order to instill that ability in them to be able to make sure that they don't live in a state of sin. They're encouraged to go to confession every week. And that is why there is a spiritual director. And even if within the course of the week you did something that your conscience weighed on you and you thought you had to go to confession, the spiritual director is there to attend to you. And at the beginning of every academic year, the seminarians have a retreat. Yes, retreats are important. At the beginning of every academic year, they too have their own retreats in order to prepare themselves spiritually. And then, of course, as far as the monthly recollections are concerned, they have monthly recollections, lots of other spiritual exercises that they carry out, adoration, benediction, in order to help them as far as their spiritual formation is concerned. Then, of course, while in the seminary, they must also be helped to also know the burdens as far as the priesthood is concerned. Because sometimes we may think that the work of a priest is to get up in the morning go and celebrate Mass with the Christians, then you come back, you eat 5 eggs and Irish potatoes, then after that you go and sleep, then when you get up, you read the Bible, then after that you go and sleep. No. So there is a practical daily horarium, calendar, that a priest should be able to follow. And at the same time, there are some challenges in the priestly ministry that we have to tell them right in the seminary. It's not automatic that because you are a priest, the parish must give you a car to drive. If you have in a parish where there is a car, you use the car. If there's no car, you take a taxi. If there's no taxi, you take a motorbike. It's a matter of trekking, you trek. That has to be very clear as far as they are concerned. And I think that there are also times that life becomes difficult in parishes and mission stations where you go there, the Christians don't even have something to eat. You may even stay for a whole day too without any food. You must learn to see how to manage and make ends meet. I think that is very important as far as the formation is concerned. Then there's the whole aspect of celibacy, that a priest is not supposed to get married. The priest is not supposed to get married. And the priest is supposed to serve God in a celibate state. And that is why even when they start reaching the level where they write applications now to become clerics, they put it in their handwriting and they go for these evangelical councils that they are going to give themselves for the service of the church. And it's good for the Christians too to know that. That the Christians know that the seminarians who are in the seminary, they are not supposed to get married. And even when they ordain them and they become priests and they are working amongst us, they are not supposed to get married. In other words, they are not supposed to be involved in anything that has to do with a man-woman relationship. And that is why it is important for them to make sure too that they control their emotions, they control their desires, so that it doesn't lead them into sin. And that is why we, the Christian people too, we must be there to help them, especially when they are tempted. That we help them, and let us not be the people who make them to fall into a situation of sin. Then, of course, while in the seminary, they are encouraged to learn the native language where they are, their own native language, and also Latin. Then, of course, it is important, as far as their studies is concerned, that they also make sure that they respect their formators and those that have been sent to train them. And if there is also a formator that a bishop sends to the seminary or the bishop sends to a seminary, as he discovered that that formator is not of good example as far as the life of the seminarians are concerned, the bishop has a right to remove that formator. At the same time, while the seminarian is there in the seminary also has a duty to make sure that he respects the rector, is obedient to the rector, and make sure that whatever the rector asks them to do as far as their formation is concerned, they do it and do it properly. And then, of course, it is also important to note that the bishop who has a seminary in his diocese has a duty and a responsibility to visit the seminary in order to see how the seminarians are doing, and also have a meeting with the formators as far as the life of the seminary is concerned. It's an interdiocesan seminary like our own. Like in Bamenda, the local ordinary, the Archbishop of Bamenda, does that every year. He goes to the major seminary in Bambwe in order to talk with the seminarians individually and also to talk with the formators in order to understand the life of the seminary. And the Diocese of Manfi, where we have the Philosophicum, the Bishop of Manfi does the same. So it is a responsibility then of the bishops to make sure that they provide for the needs of the seminary. And that is why we have vocations collection that helps us in order to assist the work of vocations in our diocese, and at the same time to help in the formation of our seminarians. And that is why the church continues to say that when necessary, levies can be given in order to help the Christian people participate financially in the training and the formation of the seminarians. So after they have done the 3rd year of theology, and they are getting now towards the end of that 3rd year, by the middle of it, they write an application to become clerics, to become deacons. And once they write that application, the seminary formators give a recommendation, and the recommendation, if it's favorable, then their bands are called. And when their bands are called, and the Christian faithful have nothing against the ordination, they are ordained now to become clerics who continue